Hey, what's up, book lovers? My name is Manim and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm here to talk all about spoilers. Recently, I've found that spoilers can be a very tricky thing, and they can be like a really big nuisance, both to the person explaining the book and to a potential reader of the book. I find that I'm never really sure 100% what a spoiler is because the tiniest things can be a spoiler. And for me, it's very frustrating because I'm someone who likes to go into books blind. So really, anything like the tiniest thing can be a spoiler for me. Which brings me to really think about what really is a spoiler, and do different people consider different things to be a spoiler? Because to me, a spoiler is anything that will give away what's going to happen in the book, will create some sort of expectation from the book, or give away something that's going to potentially happen, or give away the tone of the book. But then, do other people have like a different definition of a spoiler? Do other people have different thoughts on spoilers? Like, do different people consider different things to be spoilers? And here's what I consider to be a spoiler. So the first thing is obvious. There's the obvious plot spoilers, like, oh, this character died. Why would you do that? I think this is a spoiler that I just don't get, because why tell people? What did you gain by telling me that a character died? Like, why can't I just find out for myself? Why is it gonna hurt you if I don't find out for myself? Like, let me find out that the character died by myself. And it is one of the most annoying spoilers. Like, just let me find out. Let me read the book. Don't tell me. Like, I can never understand why you would want to tell me that a character died. This next one is the literal worst spoiler ever for me, and that is there's a plot twist spoiler. I would really love if we could stop saying that there's a plot twist in a book, because it really just diminishes the whole experience, because throughout the whole entire book I'm expecting this plot twist. It's not really going to be a plot twist anymore because I'm expecting it and I know it's going to happen, so it's like not a plot twist. I'm expecting it, and when it happens, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm be like, oh yeah, plot twist. Like, I knew it was going to happen, or I'm guessing it throughout the whole entire book, and it's just ruining my reading experience. So it really, really irks me when people are like, oh, there's a plot twist in this book. And another type of spoiler that kind of goes along with this is when people are like, oh my god, that betrayal though. Why tell me that there's a betrayal? Because you know what? I'm going into this book now. Now I'm going into this book like, I can't trust any character. I can't love any character. They're all gonna break my heart. I'm not gonna be shocked by this betrayal because now I'm expecting it from a character that is well loved by everybody, or that is supposed to be loved by the readers. So I'm not gonna fall in love with them. I'm not gonna be betrayed. You were betrayed. I'm not gonna be betrayed. And that takes away from my reading experience, because I would love to fall in love with the character and then be betrayed just like any other reader is. But if I know that there's a betrayal, why would I go into it with the same mindset that I did not know that there was a betrayal? Like, you don't understand how many times this has happened to me in a book. This one and the plot twist one. I don't understand why people have to mention those two things, because it's like you can't go into the book with the same mindset that you would have originally gone into the book with. The next type of spoiler that I really, really can't stand is the I cried while reading this book spoiler. You cried and you told me, so I'm not gonna cry, because I know something bad is gonna happen. I know something sad is gonna happen. I'm expecting a character death. I'm expecting something tragic. Like, I know it's gonna happen. So why would I cry? I'm prepared. There's no way for me to cry. I literally never cry in books because of this. Because people are always like, oh my god, I cried. And then I read the book and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll cry. But actually I don't cry because I know something bad is gonna happen and I'm prepared. And why would I cry if I know something bad is gonna happen? Like, I already know this. So for me, this is really frustrating because I just want to be able to say that I cried in a book. But I feel like I'm never gonna get that chance. Not that I haven't cried in a book before. I have cried in like maybe 2 books, but I cried in those books because I was not expecting anything sad to happen. And nobody told me that they cried. Nobody told me that the book was sad. And that's why I cried, because it wasn't expected. And that brings me to my next type of spoiler, which is when people are like, oh, this is a sad book. But like, if you say this is a sad book, you're giving away the tone of the book. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, something bad is gonna happen, something tragic is gonna happen, or something sad is gonna happen, and this is why it's a sad book. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm expecting this, I'm not gonna be as affected by it. And once again, I'm just not gonna cry. I'd rather people just said something like, oh, this book was really good, or oh, this book like pulled at my heartstrings or something like that, like really hit me hard, like things like that I feel aren't spoilers, because it could hit you hard for like several different reasons, and it doesn't have to be that the book is sad necessarily, but like if you say that a book is sad, I'm expecting that bad thing to happen. This next type of spoiler is like literally nobody's fault, but it's like the blurb spoiler. When I'm reading the blurb of a book, which is why I usually don't anymore, it's like, oh, this major event happened and this character's world was turned upside down. Like, now I'm going into this book, whatever is in like the first half of the book where this major thing hasn't happened yet, I'm just reading and I'm like, okay, where's the major thing? You know, like it just still makes me expect something, and I feel like that's like the essence of a spoiler. It makes you expect something in a book, and that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this big thing to happen because of the blurb in the book, and I'm like waiting for it to happen, but like for the first half of the book, nothing related to that big major thing could be happening. It could just be a setup, and I'd rather just hear about the setup in the blurb rather than hear about the big thing that happened in the blurb. If I read about the setup in the blurb and then the big thing happens, I'm not expecting the big thing, and it's just going to come as a shock to me. It's going to make me keep wanting to read the book. But if I know that a big thing is going to happen, then I'm just like expecting it, and it's not going to be a big thing anymore. And these next two are something that I feel can be half and half. Like, I'm not sure if I really consider them a spoiler. The first one is ships. Like, if people are talking about a certain ship later on in the series that isn't really there in the beginning of the series, do you guys consider that a spoiler? Because sometimes I feel like if we're talking about it in this non-spoilery way, but like a reader who has only read like the first book, hasn't been introduced to this ship yet, is kind of like, oh, what happened to this ship? A lot of the times in a lot of YA books, or a lot of the YA books that I read, ships play a big role in the progression of the book. So I feel like ships can sometimes be spoilers or spoil the book for a person or spoil a series for a person. So the other thing is that sometimes there are certain important issues that are just in a book, and you kind of want to point out those issues so that people know that these issues exist in the book and that they could read about it. But sometimes when I know that there's a certain issue just in the book and it's not specifically explicitly stated in the blurb, I find that to sometimes be a spoiler, because if you're going to this book and you're not expecting this important issue to come up, then you can't really avoid it. You know, you're still reading the book. And when important issues are just brought up in a book without really being explicitly said in a blurb, I really like that, because then I'm kind of surprised and taken aback by this book, and it surprised me, and I'm now getting something from the book that I didn't expect, which I think is always a good thing. Going off of that, sometimes though, there are certain issues that are very important that people, I think, should be warned about, like trigger warnings, which brings me to think, like, are there sometimes unnecessary spoilers? Like, are there spoilers that are acceptable and that you just kind of have to think? These are the kinds that I think, you know, I would like to hear about. I think other people like to hear about before they read a book, even though it's giving away something that happens in the book, even though it's giving away something and you're going to expect it in the book and the tone of the book. And the first thing is trigger warnings, you know, trigger warnings for suicide, rape, anxiety, depression, whatever trigger warning it is. I think it's important for some people to know that these things are happening in the book. And the other thing is, if there are problematic things going on in the book, I kind of like to know about them, because I kind of like being prepared in that aspect to kind of critically think about it, because sometimes when I read a book and I'm just enjoying it, I kind of ignore the problematic things, and then people point them out and I'm like, oh yeah, like that makes sense, like why didn't I pick up on this? And I like kind of going into a book being armed and ready to look at these problematic things when I'm reading. Now, what I do not consider to be a spoiler are things like, oh, I really like the dialogue in this book, or oh, I really like the humor in this book, or things like, oh, I like these certain characters but I don't like these characters. The pacing of the book I don't think is a spoiler. And also things about the writing style I don't consider to be a spoiler. But with all of these things that I consider to be a spoiler, it's become very hard for me to kind of talk about things in a non-spoilery manner. And I kind of want to know, like, do you guys consider some of the same things that I consider spoilers to be spoilers, or do you consider them to not be spoilers? What are some of the things that you consider to be spoilers? Because it's just really frustrating me right now how, like, there are all these types of spoilers going around, and it's kind of, like, getting really hard to decipher between non-spoiler and spoiler for me. And there are a lot of things that I do consider to be spoilers, but I kind of feel like other people would like to know, but some things I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know if you cried, I don't want to know if it's sad, I don't want to know if there's a plot twist or there's betrayal. Like, I just don't want to know. It's just like you want to tell people about this book, but you don't want to create these expectations so that people can go into this book forming their own opinions and getting like a full experience from the book. So what are your thoughts on all these spoilers? What do you guys consider to be spoilers? Let me know down in the comments below. So those are all of my thoughts on spoilers. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!